Okay, thank you. Hi, everyone. Hey, welcome to the Friday morning group. My name is Bill Free, and I'm happy to be your announcer, your, what do we call this, platformer this morning? And I'm happy to introduce Lisa Natoli in the house this morning. And for you guys that came early, actually, we have some of her raw desserts that she posted on Facebook last night. I know that's why most of you came to have the raw dessert, but stick around because she's going to talk. Right. So stay a little bit. Hi, Ann. I'm going to give a few announcements for you all this morning. Today's talk by Lisa is a sort of it's a in-person talk about her blog that she posted last week. I requested this. This is a really great topic. I was talking to Linda about this as we were setting up the room. I think that's why we were a couple of minutes late, because we sort of got to really talking about this idea. I requested this? Huh? I requested this. Well, she's going to unpack that a little bit for us this morning, because it is what the Course teaches, and you really have to look at this at the level, you have to first understand it before you can find agreement with it, I think. Because I requested this can take you to all kinds of avenues of how can this be. I requested this bankruptcy. I requested this divorce that I didn't ask for. I requested this shooting. When you get into those things, it gets really hairy, kind of scary. Because that even sounds like, that doesn't sound right. Right? So we're going to look forward to Lisa sharing with us on that topic this morning. And then the presenter series this month is Jackie Laura Jones. She's a great presenter. She is Cindy Renard's sister, and she just finished week 2. And so if you're in the presenter series, just be looking forward to another deliverable on Monday. And we have a surprise for everyone that's in the presenter series. Tomorrow morning, 11 a.m., we're going to start a Saturday open mic for the presenter series. So we're going to have a meeting on Zoom on Saturday so we can talk about the prior week's topic. And then the 4th week of the month, the presenter comes live on Facebook, and he does a Q&A answering any questions that you might have. But we're going to also have a Q&A tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. on Zoom. If you're in the presenter series, look for a link from Susan Telford in the Facebook group, and you'll probably get an email from her. LIP, we have a Tuesday call. If you're in LIP, Living in Purpose Mastery, Cindy Krupp and Valentine Lister will be doing an open mic. They have a treat for you, a discussion in LIP. The 40-day program is doing a group launch again October the 1st, and you can go to teachersofgod.org and sign up, or go to the teachersofgod.org, grab a link and send it to a friend that you think might be interested in the 40-day. And then we have one ticket left for the LA 2020 conference in Los Angeles for the $479 price. So you can go to our website, go to events, look for LA 2020, and that'll take you to being able to buy the ticket. You can pay in 3 payments or you can pay in 1. And then finally, Lisa is doing a retreat in New York City next week. It's next week, and she has 4 or 5 spots available. I thought it was sold out. She told me yesterday that she has some spots available, and if you want to experience a weekend with Lisa Natoli and an in-person experience of the Healing Cure, go to her website, lisanatoli.com, and sign up for the retreat in New York City next week. And that's it for announcements, everyone. Welcome. And we're going to have a meet and greet, and then we're going to come back, and amazing Michael Mooney is going to give us our thought for the day. So let's have a rise and have a meet and greet. And live streamers, I'll be right back.
Yeah, it's a new place. I found it. Are you really? Where you headed to next? Okay. Did you watch the debate last night?
We're gonna say hi to these guys. Come say hey. Maybe course be with you, everybody.
My hair that I don't have. Hi, babe.
Hello, sweetheart.
Okay, we're going to have a seat now, please. Everyone, we'll get started. Thank you. The meet and greet was awesome. Hey, I'm not going to go into politics, but did anybody watch the debate last night? No, a few people did. I like some of the issues. I think it's amazing. I think it's funny, really, that those guys can get these really direct questions and never answer them. They just go, over here. It's like there was a question addressed, and then they just go right over here. I thought that was interesting. But I am following it, thanks to Marianne. I'm following the what's happening in the political arena, thanks to her. And I watched about an hour of her commentary, and it sounded like rhetoric from Marianne. So I really wasn't too impressed with Marianne after the debate. I was hoping that she would answer the questions that I wanted the guys on the stage to answer. So that would have pulled me to action. But I also am pulled to action. I'm going to vote for the first time in over a decade, a long time, because of her presentation. You know, she causes me to want to be part of that. And I'll be taking part of it as in consciousness. I'll be allowing the intuitive being to have no agenda, but just, walk into the booth. But I could probably have eyes closed and pick the. Right. Yeah. Will I am likes that one. Okay, so that's enough of politics. And I know. I mean, I just love. I never go into this arena, but I'm excited about it because I think Marianne Williamson has woken up a large part of the spiritual community that was asleep like I was. And so I'm grateful for you, Marianne, for doing that. And I support you in whatever you do. And so there it is. We're going to have Michael Mooney come up and give us a thought for the day. So everyone, please give a warm welcome to Michael Mooney. I love this guy. You're awesome. Yeah, thank you.
I stand in the presence. Thank you. Thought for the day for September 13th is learning to live is learning to let go. And this, for me, personally rings true as surrender. Learning to let go is, for me, surrendering to the present moment and not living in the guilt and the shame and the fear of the past, and not living in the fear and the unknown of the future, and trying to keep it in the moment, which I have very brief glimpses of at this point in my life. But that's actually a quote by Sogi Al Rinpoche. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly. And then on the bottom here, it says, say out loud 3 times. So I'll say it once, and then if you guys can join me for the next 2. I am peaceful, knowing I am always provided for. I am peaceful, knowing I am always provided for. I am peaceful, knowing I am always provided for. And that kind of, for me, ties into learning to let go and not being stuck in the future and worrying about not having enough or not knowing, or, what comes to me right now is being able to turn it over to my higher self and not trying to make a decision from my ego, which, again, I have very brief glimpses of at this moment of my life. So thank you all.
Nice. Well, that's all of us, Michael, because we all begin to awaken with glimpses. And I kind of relate that back to short moments occurring many times become an automatic default. So we are really developing a new default where the glimpses become, they're always on. So that we're always on in consciousness, and now decisions are made and we're just watching it happen, like watching a movie, watching what Bill does or Michael does or whatever. So thank you for the thoughts for the day. That was great. And I that the thought for the day, it sort of brings in a different element for all of us as we begin. And I also want to invite everyone just to settle into this glimpse, settle into the awareness of this experience, this present moment right now that Michael was speaking of, and be open in your mind and your heart for this present moment. Spirit, your higher self, the God of your understanding, whatever you want to call it, peace, love, let it reveal to us what Lisa Natoli will share from her open mind and heart and expression as a channel, a direct channel for the divine. Please give a warm welcome to Lisa Natoli.
I stand in the presence. So thank you, Michael, and thank you, Bill. But thank you, Michael, for bringing back the practice from Unity. I stand in the presence. So for those of you who are not at Unity, it's kind of a thing. That's where it started. But when somebody stands up, they say, I stand in the presence, and then the congregation will say namaste. And I like that because that is really the practice of A Course in Miracles. Like we're coming back to the place of I stand in the presence. You stand in the presence right where you are. So I would like for everyone, as we begin, to shift into the presence. And this doesn't take any time. It doesn't take any thinking because you're already in the presence. And so this morning, what I'd like to do is called I Requested This. And this goes with a blog that I wrote for the Teachers of God Foundation this past Wednesday. And I'm going to be reading from chapter 21 in A Course in Miracles, The Power of Decision. And many people know this as what's called the responsibility for sight prayer. And I decided to write a blog on this because I know I got tripped up for many, many, many years on this whole idea that I caused something. And I have seen it thousands of times in the letters that I receive that people say, I didn't ask for this. Why would I have asked for this? Why would I have asked for cancer? Why would I have asked for a hurricane? Why would I have asked for my husband to leave me for another woman? Why would I have asked to lose my home? Why would I ask for my child to die? Why would the child ask for leukemia? Like, I get that one a lot. Like, what about the babies? Are you telling me that the baby decided, a helpless, innocent baby decided for leukemia? And the answer is yes. That is not a helpless baby. You are a soul. You are powerful. That baby is powerful. And my belief with the children is that there really is an experience that is happening, that there's a whole new level of consciousness. And these souls are coming into time and space, and they will not be put into a box. And they come in to disrupt us. They do. They're here to wake us up. And I get chills. Like, it's, and I know it's true. Like, they made a decision, like, all right, I'll go in as the light, but I am not going to live under the world laws. I won't. And what we do as parents and teachers here is try to put these kids in a box. And what happens when we get here is we forget that we're a soul. We forget how powerful we are. We forget our oneness with God. So even the children who come in as powerful creators have forgotten that they did that. And I believe, this is my own personal belief, that's why the suicide rate among children and teenagers is so high, because the frustration that they feel, I didn't feel the frustration until I was in my 30s. Like, I was a very happy kid. I had a very happy childhood. I had no difficulties until around the 3rd grade, when I started to get bullied for being the true expression of myself. And so we learn ways to keep ourselves safe here in time and space. We learn how to conform to the laws of the world so that we're not criticized, so that we get love, so that we succeed. And when you do that, you're living off center from the truth of what you are. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to have everyone see a different way of the idea that everything that seems to be happening to you, you asked for and received as you have asked. Because what a lot of Course in Miracles students do is make themselves guilty. They will take the responsibility. They'll say, okay, I caused this. I caused the sickness. I caused this problem. I did this to myself. But then they make themselves guilty for it. And then what happens is the mind then hijacks, gets right in there, and then says, how can I make this go away? How can I heal the sickness? How can I fix the problem? How can I understand why I caused it? And when you do that, you miss the entire lesson and message that you requested to be brought to you to wake you up. So we're going to do an exercise. I have paper, I have pens. You guys at home, I ask you to get some paper and a pen. And it is my belief that we ask for events in our lives for 2 reasons. And I wrote this in the blog over at the Teachers of God Foundation. If you want to go read the whole thing, it's there. teachersofgod.org. And I believe that there's 2 reasons that we request events to come to us: sickness, problems, difficulty, pain. One of them is because of fear. We're living off center and we are afraid to be our true self. We're afraid to ask for what we want. We're terrified of criticism. We're afraid of losing our safety. And unconsciously, we request these events to come. That's the first thing. And they keep us safe. They keep us, these events that we ask for when you're living in fear allow you to keep hiding in the body. correct? I want you to see it in a new way now. I want you to see that when you have these events, that you get to isolate. You get to shut yourself off from people. You get to hang on to your story. You get to be a victim. But what the mind doesn't want you to see this. So what the mind does is it starts to say, well, I don't want this. So now let's do something to fix it. Like if you can just stay focused, like we'll fix this problem. So that's the first thing why these events happen. The second reason I believe that we bring these events to us is you are a powerful creator. You are a powerful being of light. You fell asleep and you requested an event to come to wake you up, shake you up, rattle you, say, hey, wake up. Your soul is in expansion. It's just like we can't stay in this box of fear, littleness, anger, grief, loneliness. So the soul is in a state of expansion and you're not going. We don't go. We're like, yeah, I know, you're right. I'm supposed to be my true self and I need to be my, in joy and happy. But we don't go there, right? So we request an event that is designed to wake us up. But what do? We don't wake up. We then go, ooh, I got this sickness now. I got to fix it. I better take a pill. I better change my diet. My job is now in a state of falling apart. Ooh, I better do something. And so what I want today is I want you to find out for yourself what you requested and why you requested it. So I'm going to pass out some paper. I'm going to read. And then I want to have some of you share some of the stuff that comes to you. And I have my box of pens. Does anybody need a pen? I'll do a plug. Papermate pens are the best. These are the pens I used to use in high school, and they went off the market, and I found them back on Amazon again. They're the best. You got a pen? You got a piece of paper?
No, I get it all right here.
No. Nobody gets away.
Okay.
Nobody gets away from this exercise. Got a pen? Okay, so I'm going to read before we begin on finding out what you asked for. This is from chapter 21, The Power of Decision. We have repeated how little is asked of you to learn this course. It is the same small willingness you need to have your whole relationship transformed to joy, the little gift you offer to the Holy Spirit, for which he gives you everything. The very little on which salvation rests, the tiny change of mind by which the crucifixion is changed to the resurrection. And being true, it is so simple that it cannot fail to be completely understood, rejected, yes, but not ambiguous. And if you choose against it now, it will not be because it is obscure, but because that this little cost seems, in your judgment, to be too much to pay for price. So I just want to say the addiction to conflict is enormous. It is enormous. And if you are not happy on a consistent basis, then the addiction is still alive in you. It is, because when you want peace, it comes. And when you want to be happy, it's all you will see. And so if you're having another experience it's because there's still the old thought system operating in you. It's not a bad thing. But when you see it, you can choose to not allow it to hang around anymore. So it says, this is the only thing you need do for vision, happiness, release from pain, and the complete escape from sin. So Jesus calls sin absence from love. So this is the only thing you need do. We're going to do it today. This is why this course doesn't take any time. For vision, happiness, release from pain, and the complete escape from sin, all to be given you. So you don't have to do anything. It's given to you. Right? We think we have to do this. Like, I have to figure this out. I have to do something to make myself worthy to receive peace, to receive love. You don't. It's given to you. Say only this, but mean it with no reservation, for here the power of salvation lies. So, the power of salvation. So there's a lesson in A Course in Miracles, lesson 140. Only salvation can be said to cure. So I use that as one of the main foundational ideas in the Healing Cure, which is a 8-week online program I created, because only salvation can be said to cure. What is salvation? Salvation is a promise that you would find your way back to God. It's a promise that you would know your true self, your true identity. And what that lesson says is that we look for cures here in the world, but all you're doing is healing of effects. That's not true cure. A true cure, to be cured in God, to identify with your true self, the love you are, the light you are, to know your oneness with God, to know your oneness with your brother, to know your oneness with the chair, to know your oneness with the room, to know your oneness with everything and everyone. That's true healing. And when you have arrived in that knowing, all effects begin to change. And so it really does take a decision, a power of decision, to simply have the willingness to see things differently. So the only thing you need to do is to say this, but to say it with no reservation. For here the power of salvation lies. I am responsible for what I see. So if you'll repeat after me, I am responsible for what I see. I chose the feelings I experience.
I chose the feelings I experienced.
And I decided upon the goal I would achieve. And everything that seems to happen to me, I asked for and received as I had asked. And then it says, deceive yourself no longer that you are helpless in the face of what is done to you. Acknowledge but that you have been mistaken, and all effects of your mistake will disappear. It is impossible the Son of God, which is what you are, the Son of God is the Christ, and the Christ is your true identity. And this isn't religious. The Christ is the love you are that is joined with everyone and everything. This is what you are. And so healing is a decision to stop identifying with the body. The body is not what you are. And to begin identifying with your true self. And now the body becomes a means. It's not an effect. Like what we do as bodies is the body is the effect. It becomes the end. Like we think this is what we are, so we try to fix it. We try to change it. We hate it. We despise it because we think it's ourself. But when you shift your perception to the truth, to your true identity, it says that now the body becomes perfect in its ability to allow this message to come through you. So now you can be in the world as a light in this world. Does that make sense to everybody? And so now we're going to just do this exercise because it says, I am responsible for what I see. I chose the feelings I experience. So we're going to do a couple things on this piece of paper, and if you need more, I have more paper somewhere. I'd like for you to write down some of the feelings that you experience, just whatever they are. It can be happiness or joy, but it could be confusion, doubt, anger, sadness, grief, loneliness, just anything that you feel. Are you not doing the exercise, sir?
I am.
Okay. Who'd like to share? Come up here. Do we have another microphone? Okay.
You don't have
Laura Powers. Welcome.
So this is contingent on how centered I am in the moment. So if I am centered in the moment, which I am right now, alignment.
You are suffering in the moment right now. Okay.
No, but I'm centered in the moment.
Centered in the moment.
Alignment, blissfulness. When I'm not centered in the moment, anger, guilt. When I am centered in the moment, happiness, peacefulness. When I'm not, loneliness, sadness, jealousy.
Okay, good. So what I'd like to do is, so that was good. So you have a lot of training in this work. So you already know that when you are centered in this location over here, these are the experiences that you have. And when you're off-centered, these are the experiences you have. And this is what I did in the 40-day program, and it's also the basis of the Healing Cure. Because what I did in the Healing Cure is an 8-week commitment for anyone who wants to play a game and live as their true self for 8 weeks. And then in the meantime, I have a bunch of practices to see what comes up out of that space. Because Jesus said 2,000 years ago, pick up your bed and walk. Like he said to the disciples, go heal the sick and raise the dead. And he also said, and also heal yourself. So it's a bit of a paradox in A Course in Miracles, because on the one hand, it's saying there's nothing to heal. You're whole and complete and perfect. And then there's a ton of sections that talk about how healing is accomplished, that you must understand the reason for sickness before healing can be accomplished. So it seems to say you're going to heal yourself, but then it's also saying you're already totally healed. So what the Course in Miracles is doing is dealing with the location where you think you are as a body identity. When you're centered, like you said, Laura, and you've shifted to that location, and I know this is quantum, is that when you shift the energy, the space changes. And that's a direct experience. You can't stay over here in this old space in anger, jealousy, fear, judgment, and hope to understand what this neighborhood over here looks like. You actually got to go to the neighborhood. It's like reading a travel book about Paris. If you've ever read a Facebook post about Paris versus going to Paris and eating the croissant, they're like night and day, right? So for me as a teacher, I'm always wanting people to just do what it says so you can see for yourself. It doesn't do any good for you to just listen to me. So the feelings that are on your, does everybody have a mix, or just, does anybody have, you have a mix? Okay, isn't that interesting? We vacillate. Like we vacillate, that's what we do. Yes, Bill?
There's a comment on the board that says, "Hi, Lisa. For myself, I know that if I didn't experience the terrible events from my past, I would be happy with my life and would not seek or want to wake up from this dream. And of course, these painful life choices that we made are unconscious to us."
And yeah, it's a contrast. And so, and that's exactly what I just expressed a moment ago. Like we as souls came into this condition and fell asleep. We were just immediately born into the world and forgot who we were. And then everyone starts instructing you of who you are. The first thing, it's a girl, it's a boy. First thing, they look at your body and they tell you what you are. First thing. And these souls that are coming in right now, that I told you will not be put into a box, they're like, do not give me a name and do not give me a gender.
That's right.
They're like, screw you all. And so the world is undergoing an incredible transformation right now. And so for all of us who, like I said, I come from another time. I'm 51. So I grew up in a time when there was a phone on the wall and 3 channels on the television and no internet. And that's what I grew up on. You know, I just grew up in a different time. And so the kids nowadays are growing up and coming in with the internet and with a world that is just completely disconnected. That's the world we live in now. People don't go outside anymore. They don't talk to each other. They only talk to each other by text. We don't go places anymore. Like just a side note, I want to tell you guys something very that just came into me last week is I kept feeling like I want to be with people now. I want to more be with people. I've been feeling a call to go to New York City. And this is my dream. This is my vision. And Bill is like, woo, let's do it, is to start a Course in Miracles group once a month in New York City. And so I'm going to travel there. And I don't know how it's going to happen, but it's so easy on the bus. And like what I was really feeling is like each of us has something that comes to us as movement. Like it's just movement in you. And what we do as people is we don't listen. I have a nice life here. I have a nice house. It's nice and quiet up in Maine, right? Why would I want to go to New York? Why not? Like just because it's coming to me. And then I went there last weekend. I love New York. I have a very, very easy time there. I lived there for 15 years. So I get the assignment. Like we all get an assignment that's fun for us that we would love to do. I would love to do that. I would love to find a space in the city. And I remembered when I lived there, that's a dark place to live. It is a very dark place to live in New York City. There's 8 million people there. And, you know, the thing I noticed last weekend, and I'm going back next week again, is how loud it is. It's so loud. I mean, there's people everywhere. When you go into a restaurant, they're on every side of you. It's just a sea of people everywhere. There's not really places you can go to be quiet. Like you go to a coffee shop, you go even into the park. And so to be able to create communities where people can just gather together and remember the truth. That's why we started this Friday group. And that's why I'm always inspiring people to follow that call that's telling you start a group, reach out to your brother, like be available. That's the call that Jesus is giving to us. And so the next part of this is, so you have a range of vacillating emotions on your list. You requested all of them. Now, what I want to do right now is I want you to just stick with the ones that are not happy. Grief, doubt, sadness, anger. Just stick with those ones for now. And I want you to see how it feels to you that you requested that. Like you chose a goal. So it says, I chose the feelings I experienced and I decided upon the goal I would achieve. So if you are experiencing doubt, sadness, anger, your goal was sin. Your goal was separation. Your goal was conflict. That's just a fact. And when that's your goal and your goal is not peace, it gives you those effects. So I'd love to hear from anybody who wants to share on this. We're going to keep going. I want you, because the next thing I want you to do is I want you to write down as many situations as you can in your life right now that you're trying to fix, you're trying to heal, you're confused about, just situations that are problems, difficulties. I know. Does anyone need more paper? Write it up here. Do you want to shout them out? Can I have some help? Does anybody want to? Kelly, you look so cute in that little outfit. You want to be my assistant?
Can I ask a question?
Michael has a
No,
question.
there she is.
Lisa, Michael has a question.
Okay.
I could be wrong. Are the bad things, however you want to word it, that I'm going through the goal, or are they the process that I chose to go through to get to the goal?
Well, good question. What I want to do is I want us to just list them, and then we'll find out what it is. So for right now, just stick with just naming a difficulty, something that you're trying to fix, something that's upsetting to you, something that you're trying to heal. So let's just walk through it, and then we'll see. Yeah. Do you want to share it, or do you want to?
Relationships.
Okay, relationships. Okay. And what about them? Lack of them, difficulties in them.
Difficulties.
Okay, so difficulty in relationships. That's probably a common one for everybody, right?
We can't read what you're writing. Can you
Okay.
use, the markers are right here in the chair. You see this chair in the front?
Right here. Okay. Relationship difficulties. Okay, so do you want to work with this one?
Yeah.
Okay, so the microphone.
Yes.
So
He's not watching.
you have relationship difficulties. Okay. So then just say, I requested this.
I requested this.
Okay. So why would you have requested relationship difficulties? What does it give you?
Insight into my past trauma.
But what does it give you? Just put the mic up a little bit.
What does it give me? Insight into my past trauma.
But what does that mean?
Oh, what of these things that it gives me? Judgment, grief, sadness, indecisiveness, anger, shame.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, so those are the emotions. So, I'm just going to be a little more clear. So everything that seems to happen to us gives us a benefit that we ask for. So I'll just give you some examples from my own life. So when I was going through physical symptoms, then I was trying to heal them for 6 years. I just kept thinking, if I can just change my diet, figure out what supplements to take, if I can just get rid of the discomfort, and then I can get back, and then my life will begin. But I requested to have a sickness, and when I actually looked at it, I saw, oh my God, this is like giving me so many things. I don't have to show up in life. I get to keep hiding in the body. Nobody criticizes me. Everyone leaves me alone. I don't get bullied anymore. I don't have to teach. I get to be quiet. I don't have to work. It gave me so many things. Like, it just gave me thing after thing after thing where I realized, oh, I don't have to put myself out there. I don't have to be the fullest expression of myself. I get to stay safe. It gave me a level of comfort. But while I was trying to heal the body, I didn't see any of that. I just thought, if I could just fix myself, then I can be all of those things. Then I can be my truest expression. Then I can teach, and then I can be vibrant, and then I can be alive. But when I saw that I was terribly afraid of expressing myself, because I have a history since the 3rd grade of being criticized when I am the fullest expression. And I had the experience for many years that I was teaching A Course in Miracles wrong. So I kept getting emails from people saying, oh, you're so worldly. That's not what the Course says. So instead of allowing everything to be as it is, I decided I'll just get sick. That'll be good. And then I can control my experience. Does this make sense to everybody? Mm-hmm. So now, what are you getting out of having a difficult relationship? Are you in one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, when listening to you, your sickness, and I don't mean this parallel, but your thing was your sickness. My thing that I'm hiding in is the relationship.
Yeah. And remember what I said.
It's that thing that I'm putting myself in so I don't have to be my fullest potential,
Exactly.
which is now pulling at me so strongly.
Exactly.
And I'm trying so hard to fix the relationship so I can stay small.
Yeah. High five.
But where I wrestle with it is that I walked the labyrinth last night at World Day of Prayer, and I just said, I need to do this with love. Whatever my decision is, I need to do it with love, because it's not my intent to hurt this person, but I can't fake it anymore.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel like I'm faking it.
That's so good. So that's awesome. So now you can see, oh, I requested that.
Yeah.
I requested that so that I could stay in littleness and stay small and play it safe. And remember what I said earlier, I believe there's 2 reasons that we request these events to come to us, either out of fear, we're afraid, and we're living in a location of fear, and we manifest these events that are just cause and effect. We're living in fear, and the world that we think we see reflects the location that we have located ourselves in. And the second one is that your soul, which is what you just expressed, is just like, oh my God, it's time. It is time to fly, and you're not going.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you see it, because what do we normally do? Normally we take a difficult relationship and we're like, if I can just fix this relationship, then I can fly.
Right.
If I can just figure this out, if only they would change. What?
Get the other person to
Get
change.
them to change. If only they could stop being so insane, then I would have a nice, great space where I could just be my creative, brilliant self.
what comes up for me is if I can't fix the relationship, why am I worthy to fly?
So there you go. So more stuff comes up. See, this
Right.
is the beauty. You should come to New York City on Friday and be with me for the weekend. But this is what we're going to do in New York next weekend. It's like, this is the kind of stuff where we stop saying, I caused it. This is what Course in Miracle people do. Like, I caused this difficult relationship. I'm guilty. But when you do the work, and you actually go a little bit deeper and you see, oh, I'm unworthy. That's my belief. And that belief is driving everything that seems to happen to you. So a miracle is a shift in perception where you recognize your total value. You're amazing. You're brilliant, you're smart, you're creative, you're centered. I could go on forever. You're generous.
I'm cute.
I wouldn't say you're cute. I'd say you're totally hot. Let's look at the camera. Let's put the camera on Michael. This is like total hot guy
And
over
modest.
here. Is that what?
And modest.
And he's totally humble.
Yes.
No, seriously, you're funny. So what we're doing is we're starting to come into, and then you start to, and then the mind goes, oh, we better hijack this one. And then the mind was like, well, that's totally ego. So now the ego gets in there and says, you are so selfish. You are so arrogant. So you have to be really alert to catch what the mind is doing. And then now you get to really see, like, you don't need to fix that relationship. You don't need to be concerned about difficult relationships. And this is where trust is required, because you have to not have an attachment to an outcome. If you want to be the fullest, most brilliant expression of who you are and what you came to do, you don't know how your life is going to change. Mm-hmm. And that could fall away. Mm-hmm. I like how Abraham Hicks says it. And I was married before, and it was a difficult relationship. And I had the same thing. I spent 8 years trying to make myself mold into the relationship so it could work. And I read this thing in The Vortex, in that book. I always suggest that book to anyone who has relationship problems, The Vortex by Abraham Hicks. And it said this thing that I just decided, okay, that's what I'm going to do, and I'm going to see what happens. So it said, when you make a decision to live in the vibration you want to be in. So this lesson says, I choose the feelings I experience. I decide upon the goal I would achieve. So I decided that when I read The Vortex, when you live in the vibration that you choose to live in. So for me, it was joy, highest expression, authenticity, generosity. And I wasn't being any of those things, because when I was those things, the relationship went off the grid. So I played small to stay comfortable. And so what Abraham said is that when you choose to move into that vibration, so you've been living here, I don't value myself, I feel worthless, and you say, okay, I'm now going to shine, and I'm going to live in joy. And it said one of two things will happen to your relationship. So you've now moved from here, where the difficult relationship is, you're here. It says they will either join you in the new place where you are, or they will fall away. And that's what happened. I lived up here. I would not tolerate conflict anymore. I say, I'm done with conflict. I'm not going to hang out in the conflict when it happens. I would just say, I'm leaving now. I would get in my car and drive away and go meet someone else. And it literally fell apart like in a week. I'm not exaggerating. It was over. And I was like, whoa, what a tremendous, enormous amount of energy we spend to hold these relationships together that are over. Can I get an amen? Amen. Okay, so you are such a good... So sickness, hiding, victim, not to be bullied, not to have to work. People feel bad for me. Thank you so much, Michael. Who's next?
There's a comment online from Carol. She says, I can't come to accept that I requested the death of my husband. How could I be so cruel to someone I so truly love? Grief is heavy.
Okay, so then this is the part. We come upon these things and we just think, no way did I ask for this. That's being a victim. Your husband, he passed, and I'm sorry about that, but this is what happens. We lose people we love here. The reason I do the work I do is because of very early on, I saw this place sucks. Seriously. Like everything is death and divorce and loss, and you hold things together and people leave you anyways. And I was like, what? And that's why I dedicate my life to this work, because I can't stand it. I was like, I got to find a way. So Carol, so what you want to do is you want to notice, so you mentioned grief. So that's the feeling that you chose. And then you say, I requested this. I requested this experience. And it's just like I was expressing. It's one of two things. It's either fear or it's you're moving into a totally new expansive space. And so now you're going to look at what gifts is this given to me, and what's the message that it's come to teach me? What has it given to me? And is she writing anything?
Well, no, I would just like to make a comment here.
Oh, good.
Because when we met Kelly, we met Kelly standing next to you as a grief counselor for the chaplains. And so there's two things happening. As I remember Kelly's teaching, grief is a natural experience that we all need to allow, and it's a process, and then it's over. And so there is a period that we need to allow ourselves to grieve, and before we go into the higher or the fuller understanding, I think, that you're getting ready to take us to, is there any comments that you would like to add from the grief process?
Yeah. So to me, it's like that is normal. Like these emotions. And one of the things I always say when I'm teaching, when I'm in any of the programs that I've created, is don't try to have a different experience, because that's what we do as humans. So when you're in grief, we try to be out of grief. We try to still control our emotions. The mind training of A Course in Miracles is to notice the emotion. Don't let it tell you what to do. It is not in charge. And from this place where you're centered now, where there's still grief, you might be surrounded by grief, but now you're looking at it in a new way. Like you're allowing yourself, instead of staying in the grief, to say, what has this brought me? What is this teaching me? What is the lesson? Like, to me, this course is 100%. Like when it says, I asked for this and I received as I have asked. And that's a tough teaching in some cases, because if you think that this just happened randomly, that your husband just passed, why do you think your husband passed? I'd like to ask. Because this is just the case of the world. We all have an expiration date here, right? We do. We're all going to go and leave the body at some point. And so I'm not trying to get anybody to like move into like, oh, it doesn't matter, because that's another spiritual bypass. The other spiritual bypass is like, it didn't happen. I see that a lot too. Like, oh, my husband didn't die. He's still here. No, he's not in the body anymore. That hurts. It's sad. Like, it's just, so you want to sit with the emotion instead of letting it be the boss of you. You are now doing the work on it. Like, okay, my husband died. That's the situation. Okay, Now I have a choice. Am I going to stay in grief? Or am I going to allow myself to have something shift my experience where I can now move into something a little more gentle, a little more peaceful, a little more just in the flow of what you are? Do you have anything to add?
Yes. Oops. Sorry. The one thing I wanted to just call out, I wasn't sure about what if I heard this correctly, but it almost sounded like Carol was saying, "Why would I cause the death of someone that I love so much?"
I can't come to accept that I requested the death of my husband.
Requesting the death of my husband. Okay. And in the world of form, like on this level of our consciousness, that's not the level that we requested it at, and so because that's a very dangerous place to be, because it causes guilt. That would be the exact reaction I would expect somebody to be having if they're thinking, oh, I requested the death of my husband and therefore I caused it, because she went on to say, someone that I love so much, why would I do that to someone I love so much? And it's not done at this level. It's as Lisa was talking about, it's really requesting the experience or what the experience brings me, because it's a way of punishing ourselves because we believe we separated from God and we're guilty. So I just wanted to say that. I had something else to say too, but I think I forgot what it was. So.
Yeah, and that's how we started here, where
we have two hands.
I'm going to have Peter
was
and
first.
then Nancy and then Jane.
Okay.
Yeah.
Most of you here in this room know
Trying to come
that.
up here?
Sure. Most of you here in this room know that my wife died last year, and I was in a loving relationship with her for decades, and you all loved her too. I can now accept that I requested that experience of her passing as a way of forcing me into a personal awakening, which wouldn't have happened if I'd stayed in that situation. But I will say that initially I went through a feeling of guilt because I recognized early on in that process that, yeah, I did ask for this. And I felt a certain sense of guilt about that. Like, how could I do that? Or how could I allow that to happen? And had to work that through. Guilt along with the grief and other things. I feel like I've, to a large degree, come to terms with that, with those feelings. And I'm ready now to do the work that you're asking me to do, Lisa, which is why? What was the purpose? What was in it for me?
Yeah, I'm so grateful, Peter, that you came up here and shared a real life example, because this isn't conceptual and there are situations that are hard. And when Peter came here a couple months ago, you came here, or maybe it was less than a couple months ago, I can remember you expressing that you've just been isolating yourself, staying at home a lot. And one of the reasons I wanted to do the blog on this topic is it is probably the number one thing I see of spiritual students making themselves guilty for situations that are happening. And that's the part I want to give everyone a different way of seeing things, is that this is just life. People pass. It's just life. And we don't know when it's going to happen. Every single one of us, we don't know. We don't know if today's our last day here. We don't know. And so we begin to come back into a space of, we wake up. And that's what you were expressing. I remember when you came here, you were like, I just needed to come out of my apartment, my house.
It really was a wake-up call about, am I a body? Was my wife a body?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No. The answer is no.
Yeah.
but it's easy for the mind to cling to that.
Yeah.
Until,
I remember
until you're really confronted with it.
Exactly. And I can also remember you saying one time to me after this Friday group, you said, I just want to be happy. Like you wanted to get out of that space. And that's the cry of the soul, like where you wanted a different experience. You can't change the experience that October, she's not coming back in a body anymore. So now you have a choice. The power of decision is your own. Do you choose to keep living and isolating and feeling the grief and the loss? Or do you choose to say, okay, now it's time for something new? And I remember you saying that was scary for you to step out of that place that got so comfortable for you.
Yeah. And I have a list of other feelings too, and many of them are designed to keep me from getting out into the world and doing what I'm called to do.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
Thank you so
I'm working
much.
with them.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
Let me have that microphone. So we're going to have Nancy. This is what I want you to continue to do at home, is to find out what the situation is. So you're listing your problems, difficulties, things you're trying to heal, things you're trying to fix, things you're confused about. List it all down on paper. Say, I requested this. For some reason, I asked this to come into my life for a purpose. And then you want to find out, what is it giving me? Like what benefit is it giving to me? I want to say your teaching 2 weeks ago was off the flippin' charts. If anybody wants to see Nancy Fitzgerald, she's on YouTube. She did a teaching 2 weeks ago. You nailed it.
Thank you. Thank you, because I felt like I was stepping out to be more of myself and willing to take whatever happened after I did it. So it's cool that it's well received. Thank you. With regard to somebody dying, I identify with that in the sense that now, almost 40 years ago, I had gotten in a place in a marriage. I'd been married 10 years. I had a 1.5-year-old, and my marriage died in that my husband came out as gay. And I was able, even then, within months, to realize part of what was both the gift and the grief. Wait a minute, I had this all set up. We had a house, I had a great job, I had a child, I had a partner that functioned as a friend with me. We knew how to do this. We had the plan down. It was all set up, and bam, it's dead. It's gone. And sitting here today, when I think, how did I request that? It's almost like I set it up so it would fall apart, so I could go ahead and be who I needed to be. First, a scientist. I didn't like the years much, I didn't think, of being a single mom. But then to be able to retire early from a good enough job that it didn't leave me wealthy, but it left me what felt like solid. And then the other thing I thought, and because of my example, is that, like Byron Katie says, am I in my business, your business, or God's business? Well, when somebody dies or came into this life with a certain sexual orientation, that's God's business, right? I don't get to choose that. And that other person probably didn't either. Well, I shouldn't say probably. I know people don't choose that. They may choose to act on it, or when they act on it. And so that other person also has free will to choose to die, consciously or unconsciously, to choose to come out and have to keep doing their journey. So I may have requested it. But I requested it from the perspective of the big plan that includes way more than just me. I'm not the only one involved in this plan. And so that's part of why it feels good to say it was a soul decision somewhere along the line, maybe predetermined, but maybe I agreed here to go that journey. And then when I hear you talking about millennials, my 40-year-old, I think, was one of the first millennials, and it would have taken me and his experience getting it complete headbutting when he was a teenager to get to the place where we can now talk about that without guilt on either side. So it's kind of like somewhere in the course it says several times, I think, how would you know what's best for everybody all around, past and future and whatever? I wouldn't. So, and yet, my part of being in that kind of a marriage that died and then doing it on my own and then having a son who's so uniquely positioned to do what he's going to be able to do, which isn't anything like what I did, except that it is, it's like the feel of it and the ethics of it and the whatever, but he's in a really different place. He functions as a blue-collar entrepreneur. He lives in a working-class neighborhood. He sees things in the government and what's going on in a way I've never heard anybody else talk about or say. So I needed to be his mother, and in some ways it was easier for me without having his dad there. It wasn't easier for him.
Thank you, Nancy. We're at the end of our time. Thank you, Kelly. Let's give a hand to Kelly. I wanted to have Jane, though. You're awesome. Are we okay on the time for a few more minutes?
5 minutes.
Okay. So before Jane starts, I just want to say thank you, Nancy, for that. And what the Course in Miracles says is that trials are but lessons you failed to learn the first time, brought back to you again. So before you made a certain choice then, you can make a different choice now. So every single thing since the first day you arrived here has been trying to wake you up. Everything. Songs, relationships, sexual abuse from fathers and uncles and mothers and whatever. I mean, the horrific stuff that we hear about. Like, it's just like we have requested these experiences. I know that sounds like a harsh thing to say until you wake up. And if you keep being a victim about these things and you keep saying, no, not that, I guarantee you, it's like you're going to have to get another thing happen to you. So the choice is going to be yours. You don't have to believe what I say. And if you just would say, okay, I don't believe a word you're saying, Lisa, and this is bullshit. Like, pay attention to the next problem that comes your way. And listen to my voice when next thing happens. Like, you're just gonna keep looping. I guarantee it. You're going to keep looping back around problems, sickness, difficulty, and suffering until that moment in time when you were like, oh, aha, okay. Well, I'm just going to go over here. Jane.
Thanks. I just wanted to thank Carol for her comment. I lost my husband almost 14 years ago, very suddenly, a couple days after Christmas. And when the question came up today, it was shocking to me. How could I have possibly requested that? Mm-hmm. But then on the other side of the coin was that there was relief. There was some level of relief from a difficult yet loving relationship. Yep. And there were many blessings that came our way that my two girls and I, that probably wouldn't have come had he been there. And that when I say it out loud, it sounds harsh, but it was the reality at that time. So that's most of my comment, and I need to go deeper with this whole concept because there's still that little bit of shock factor within me right now. The question I had was, did he request it too? My husband, her husband, anybody, October, I mean, anyone.
Well, see, we're all playing our part.
We all request it together, and then there it was. Yep. I don't know.
Yeah, no, they did. And
thank you.
And so, like, the part in the manual for teachers talks about the student-teacher relationship, that we're always meeting ourselves, that we come together in relationship with those who can teach us what we need to learn for that given time. And when the thing is complete, the relationship ends. And so for some of us, it ends in death. It's that the lessons have been learned, the thing has accomplished. And I also believe that some of these souls, they just can't stand it here. That's what I believe that. I believe that they're like, I'm not doing this and I'm out of here. And so for me, it's a decision to stay as long as it takes to say, I will be a voice in the wilderness and the light in this world. And that's my commitment, that I'm the suffering of this world. It's what I'm here for. I'm here as a light. This is what you're here for. You're here as a light in a very dark place. And God sent you to come. And so we're going through this transformation to remember. Where's the microphone? One more from Bonnie, and then we'll close.
Thank you to Nancy for saying that she felt it was a choice from the soul level, because that really helps me a lot. I think if we look at it, we chose this on this level, this earthly plane. It's very hard to accept that, but knowing that we chose it on a soul level raises it so much to real spirituality to me. Thank you, Nancy.
Yeah, thank you, Bonnie, for that. And thank you, Nancy, because that's what it is. It's like when you think of it like that your soul, the spirit, the truth of what you are, the light that you are, it cannot stay contained. It just can't. It's light. It moves. And what we do as bodies, as images, as personalities, is we try to contain this light. We say, I'm not going to let the light out, and I'm not going to let the love out, and I'm going to protect myself from strangers, and I'm not going to let the love in. So we have a bunch of defenses where we're like, I'm good. I'm good. No, you're not good. And so when you make a decision to allow the dismantling to occur and for your old thought system to go, it does require trust. And it does require consistency, because the old thought system is going to keep trying to come back. It just does. That's just the nature of how it goes. You can't do this in 5 steps and a certain amount of time. It's a lifelong commitment. And you keep catching when you have slid back, when the old thought system has come back, and you're like, oh, oops. We could just keep going forever. I have one.
Carol said thank you. It's been very helpful
I love you,
for
Carol.
her. Yeah, and many comments that are very grateful for this whole.
We have one more from Kelly.
Right.
And if anybody wants to keep going with this work, this is what I'm doing all weekend next weekend in New York City. We're going Friday night, 7 to 9. I have 7 spots. It's only 30 people. I had a couple people drop out, 3 people jump in. So I have 23 people right now, and the space holds 30. I'm taking the bus next Friday, but it's 7 to 9 on Friday night, Saturday from 10 to 6, and Sunday from 10 to 6. And what we're going to do is we're going to do lessons. We're going to do stuff like this. I wanted a small group. That's why I kept it small, got a small space. And we're also going to embody our true selves in New York City for the entire weekend. So I want everyone that's with me, we're going to take loads of breaks. We're going to go out for coffee. We're going to go out for lunches. I want people to experience what it's like to be in a life, not go sit in a room and meditate and write down stuff on paper. I want people to go know what it feels like to hit the streets and bless everyone and everything with your holiness. And give yourself 3 days to do it and watch how different your experience is. And then find out, like Michael, I love that. Do you feel better? Like, and do you have a difficult relationship anymore? No, you don't, because now it's just like, I don't have a difficult relationship anymore because that thing was just pushing me. Thank you, Father. Kelly?
I just wanted to say, I think it's important what you were talking about in the beginning to kind of just bring it back to looking at in everything that is a challenge for us, what our ego is making out of it, like what our ego is getting out of it, which is what you talked about with the sickness and with, hiding. And that's what Michael talked about. And then also looking at what the soul's purpose is for it and how the soul can transform it. Mm-hmm. And so really looking at what the difficulty is from both aspects. Yep. And then going with the one, yep. What the spirit is the gift in it versus the victimhood or the pain or whatever it is in it. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you, Kelly. Deceive yourself no longer that you are helpless in the face of what seems to be done to you. So thank you guys so much. If you can all rise, we'll make a circle. And thank you, live streamers. We have Course in Miracle books, Circle of Atonement Course in Miracle books for $30. You can see me or Bill afterwards if you want a copy. If anybody would like to make a donation, we thank you so much for the money that you give. And it helps us to pay for the space. It helps us with the live stream. There's a box in the back. There's a donation button online. And we bless all of our abundance. We bless our gifts. You all have gifts. You have gifts of time, of money, of joy, of happiness, of presence. These are the gifts that are ours to give, and we have them to give. And now we make a decision that we're going to give them. And we bless with the unity prayer, divine love, as me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And you have laughter. And Nancy Fitzgerald one time did the prayer line by line. I want you to really think about that unity prayer. Like all the gifts that you have that are being blessed and multiplied. Your gift of creativity, your gift of time, your gift of money, your gift of laughter, your gift of presence, your gift of all the gifts that we have are being blessed and multiplied, but they are not blessed and multiplied when you hold on to them and don't give them. So I just want to say thank you, Father. Just thank you, Jesus. Thank you, the Christ within ourselves, joined as one in this holiness, in this light. I am so grateful to be standing with these healers, miracle workers, and creators, these powerful light beings who are here now, making a decision to allow this light to extend and to be here in this world in a place of darkness and knowing that this light dispels the darkness automatically. And so we breathe in all this light, breathe out. Amen. I love you guys. Thank you.